Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. The front page today of two major newspapers tells you everything you need to know of the moment we are in the Trump administration and the global crisis we face. The New York Times front page, ferocious fires scorch terrain as Earth heats. We have been, of course, bringing you this story night after night. Everyone around the world is watching the Amazon burn in real time. Everyone is watching Siberia burn. Everyone is watching Greenland melt before our eyes. It is happening right now on your TV screen. There's a hurricane barreling towards the coast of Florida. We are at the point where really, honestly, no one is truly denying what we are looking at. It's just happening right there in front of our eyes. The climate crisis is here. And today, on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, energy companies set to get reprieve on methane rules. Those two papers kind of say it all. The world is on fire, climate change is happening, and while we all know that to be true, the Trump EPA is going to roll back regulations on methane. Methane, which by some estimates has 80 times the heat-trapping power of carbon dioxide in the first 20 years it's in the atmosphere. Methane regulations were put in place by the Obama administration in 2016, and many of the major energy companies actually support them. Right now, the president is not just fiddling around while the earth burns. He is actively setting new fires. The Trump administration is actively making the problem worse. And it's not just this. This is the second proposed regulatory rollback where the administration has tried to override the industry to make the planet less healthy. A few months ago, you might remember the administration proposed a plan to lift mileage requirements and fuel efficiency standards on big auto, which much of big auto didn't even want. Right now, the Trump administration's in court trying to get rid of Obama-era clean power plant rules. As we told you last night, they now want to open up the largest forest in the U.S. Forestry Service in Alaska, the largest carbon sink that takes carbon out of the air in the entire U.S. to possible logging and mining. And it is not just climate. It's kind of a full-scale assault. Administration's plan to roll back rules on methane emissions is the 84th environmental rule to be targeted by the president, as tracked by the New York Times. Not only are they rolling back regulations on methane emissions, but also hydrofluorocarbons, tailpipe emissions, toxic mercury emissions. You get the idea. And then there's one of the most notorious chemicals out there, the potentially cancer-causing chemical in Roundup, which is the subject of this enormous class action lawsuit. In fact, you've probably seen ads about it on this network.
Farm workers, landscapers, and homeowners who've been exposed to the weed killer Roundup may be at risk for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or other cancers of the blood.
This is important news for people who have been exposed to the weed killer Roundup.
The World Health Organization has identified Roundup as containing a chemical that poses a potential cancer risk.
Roundup, the subject of tens of thousands of lawsuits by people who claim it gave them cancer. To give you an idea of just how vast it is, the company that owns Roundup, Bayer Monsanto, has proposed paying as much as $8 billion to settle those lawsuits. And even all that, the Trump EPA is actively fighting on the side of Monsanto to defend the good owner of Roundup. It won't even approve warning labels. The Trump administration is now definitively on the wrong side of public opinion on the environment. And that is something voters notice. I mean, the White House itself and the campaign are nervous about Trump's weakness on environmental issues. The Quinnipiac poll finds that 67% of voters say the U.S. needs to do more to address climate change, a new high, and 56% see climate change as an emergency. So let's put more methane in the air while the world burns is not a particularly popular position. Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.